This is Let's Talk Teens, a parenting podcast sharing tips on raising amazing teenagers. We are both certified life coaches that have worked with teenagers as coaches, mentors, and teachers. We are sharing what we have found to work best when dealing with teens and tough issues. This is Abbi and Cheree, Let's Talk Teens, episode 51, Beliefs that Sabotage Teen Confidence.
Abby, I think this is a topic we could talk about over and over again, just because I personally think having confidence is so vital to these teens. I mean, it just can make or break their life. And so we've probably talked about confidence before, and we're going to talk about it again, and we'll probably talk about it again later on. But just always a good little reminder for us as parents to continue to help our teens build that self-confidence. So, beliefs, our thought patterns, they are they make a big difference. What we think about, we bring about, right? So if we're thinking we're amazing, we bring that amazing self to the table. If we're thinking that we suck and we're not enough, that's what we also bring to the table. And so I think it's just important to think about that. One of the number one beliefs I hear in some form or another with all my clients when we're working through different things in their coaching sessions is I'm not good enough, dot, dot, dot. Like
Mm.
enough at school, or I'm not a good enough daughter, I'm not a good enough friend, I'm not good enough at dance, not good enough as a defender on my soccer team. Like there's good enough. And I always ask them, so what's enough? How do we know that enough? Like, why does that word come up? What is enough? But I think it's so important to kind of stop that enough talk and really help them learn that like wherever they are is enough right now. And what is enough, and really like think through that. It's like we are constantly in this process of learning and growing. And so, I'm enough with room to grow, or I am like just kind of taking that enough out and I'm just right where I'm supposed to be. I think is so important to just kind of help our teens stop that enough talk because there's nothing good that comes from that. It just shuts our brain down and we immediately fall short if we're not good enough, whatever that enough is that our brain actually can't even measure. But we get stuck in that sabotage thought so quickly. Parents of teens, I think it's really important that we also watch our language and make sure we're not saying that. Like, oh, I'm not a good enough mom, or I'm not a good enough, because I think as adults or teens, we all kind of fall prey to that sabotage um, belief system of not being enough.
Well, and I think it stems from comparison and looking and going. Like even today, I was thinking, oh, I don't make all these homemade meals, or I'm not as good at like getting my kids on a regular eating schedule as so and so who lives down the street from me, right? And so it's just so easy for our brain to fill that in. And you're right, it's not like we actually have a measuring tool, which would actually be helpful in like, okay, I want to do this, 10% better. I want to do this one more time this week. It's just this endless void of what is enough, and that's the horrible cycle of it all.
That endless void. I love that verbiage with it because that's what our brain does when we say we're not enough, is there's an endless void. And I love that you brought up comparison because that was my second thing. It's so easy for us to sabotage ourselves by noticing that everyone else is better than me or comparing ourselves to other people. And we know comparison is the thief of joy. It doesn't help us. It doesn't help us improve. We get so stuck in, comparing ourselves and not being as good as someone else. But I love to always bring up the analogy of our bodies and how, what would it be like if I compared my eyes to my ears? I really can't. They have no comparison. They just have a very, very different job. My eyes are so good at seeing and my ears are so good at hearing, but I would never be like, eyes, why aren't you being more like my ears? And I know that's such a silly analogy, but when we help our teens realize that they all have a part to play, we all have a part in this world to play. And all of our part is a little different. And there's some things we're great at, and there's some things we're still learning, and there's some things that, might not be our gifts and talents, but that's because we have other ones to help us shine. But really recognizing that comparing ourselves to others is like comparing our eyes to our ears or our hands to our feet. Like there's no comparison, and there's zero part of that that's helpful.
I think why this particularly affects teenagers more than it affects adults or younger children, because I mean, it affects us all, but really honed in on that comparison as a teenager, is I feel like when you were saying, like, oh, I have other gifts and talents and strengths than this person. There's certain gifts and talents, whether that's sports, music, maybe I can sing, maybe I can play an instrument, that are very showy and they're very well praised and they're very well appreciated in our teenage years. And if I don't have that exact talent, or if I'm not as good as somebody else at that talent, right? That realization is really hard because as a teenager, I probably don't have the emotional maturity to go, yeah, I'm not the best singer at my school, but I am so good with kids, or I am so good with other people. And it takes us into our adulthood to finally realize our talents and gifts are so much more than what are showy and what's praised. And so I feel like as a teen, if we don't have one of those really showy outward talents, it can be really, really, really hard because as a teenager, I could care less that I'm good with kids or that I am a peacemaker in my home. But as an adult, those are going to be actually some of the best qualities that I ever could have had and worth 10 times more to me than maybe a showy talent. And yet, as a teenager, it's like, I don't care. Who cares? Right? Like, if I don't have this specific gift, then I'm a nobody, right? I'm not good enough.
Abby, I'm so glad you brought that up because that was me as a teenager. I didn't have any showy talents. At least I didn't think I did. I didn't play any sports. I wasn't, good enough at music to be in any elite choirs or anything like that, right? And so I know that that was a huge part of my lack of confidence as a teenager is that it didn't look like I had any gifts and talents. But man, I was so good at helping my parents at home and being good with kids, just like you talked about, or helping, clean bathrooms or whatever. I was so good at that.
Real life skills, Cheree.
Real
That
life
is what
skills.
you have.
I was a hard worker, right? But at that time as a teenager, it just looked like, I'm a nobody because I'm not on any team. I'm not really in any club because none of them fit my talents and gifts. And that's why as parents, I think it's so important that when we vocalize to our kids like what they're good at, it's not like, oh, you're so good at soccer or you're so good at dance or you're so good at chemistry. Like not saying those aren't great to compliment them on, but to really compliment our children on character traits as well. Oh my goodness, you are so compassionate. Like I love your compassion. Or oh, you have so much grit. I love how you just like keep going after your goals and you stick with something that's really hard. I think that's important for our teens to hear, and also that reflective to them of asking them like what they feel like are their strengths and amazing character traits because they need to see it in them. I noticed with my teens, when I had teens at home, that it was one thing for me to tell them how proud I was of them for something, but it was another thing that really strengthened their confidence when I would say, "Oh my goodness, are you so proud of yourself for how hard you worked at that in that class? Are you so proud of yourself?" Because that helps their confidence. It's not just coming from an outside source, it's coming from an internal source. And I think that's so good. Okay, another thought I had of like beliefs that sabotage us is just that whole like, what if I mess up? It's that fear of failure that we can't mess up. We might ruin our future or
Mhm.
gosh, like it's going to mess up our 4.0 or it's going to mess up something. Like we just can't mess up. I think that really creates a lot of self-doubt and sabotages our self-confidence. Because what self-confidence really is this fierce belief in ourselves that even when we fail, which I'm in quotes because I just think that's just our experience and learning. But even when we fail or we don't get things right the first time, our self-confidence is being there to pick ourselves back up and continue to show up for ourselves. It's not letting that failure define me. It's saying, I got me. Like, it's okay that I didn't get a 4.0 this semester, or it's okay that I didn't make the drill team, or it's okay. Like I am going to keep showing up for me and I'm going to keep working at this. I'm going to take a few extra dance classes and try out again next year. Or you know what? I'm going to change my study habits and I'm going to get a 4.0 this next semester or this next term. And so it's not having so much stock in messing up. It's what we do with our learning and our growth and the repair or continuing to show up for ourselves.
I don't think teens hear often enough that phrase that you were saying of like, it's okay. Like you're okay. Like it's okay that you didn't get a 4.0. I remember when they had him stand up at, I don't know, some kind of assembly, right? Like the five kids who had gotten a 4.0 every single semester of their life since ninth grade. And I mean, yes, I am so impressed by that and inspired by that. But also, I'm like, like that's kind of paralyzing, right? Like one mistake, one hard thing. And so I think our kids need to hear often, especially in our world of we keep getting faster and we keep getting stronger and we keep getting smarter, which is awesome. But we also need to hear too, like it's okay to have a regular day. It's okay to get a bad grade. It's okay to have a teacher not like you. And I love that you're talking about that real confidence comes from I will figure it out. Like I will figure this out. Have a belief in myself that I can do this.
And I can rebound. I can rebound. I coached this young lady this last school year, and she was a senior, and she'd always had a 4.0. And I mean, like the pressure that she was under and what it was doing to her mental health, that she was so afraid that this last semester of her senior year, she was gonna mess up that 4.0. And all her confidence, like I mean, I could tell it was just going to destroy her if she didn't get a 4.0. And that's what, like, again, I respect and I think it's amazing some of these students that get a 4.0 and what they're able to do. That takes a ton of dedication and hard work for sure. But sometimes I think we have to find that balance of is all my confidence and self-worth tied into that 4.0, or do I have, enough confidence in myself that if something doesn't go perfectly as planned, I'm going to be okay. This is nothing about my value, my worth, my confidence in myself. Like I'm going to navigate this and I'm going to be just fine. Okay, another one, last one that I just wanted to go through that I think is that can sabotage our self-confidence, our teens' confidence is I have to know exactly who I'm going to be in the future and what I want right now.
Mm.
And we kind of talked about this in a previous episode, but just how like we don't have to like have all the answers right now. And it's okay for us to be in the process of change, the process of learning, the process of growth. And it says, like, I'm okay. I'm confident again in myself that I'm going to figure this out, that I'm going to be able to take, like what I do know and move forward. And then if things change or if things don't go as planned, I am resilient and I have my back and I'm confident that I'm going to figure it out.
I love that because I just think too many teens feel like they have to have all the answers. And I get it because, I remember sitting there and you feel so impressive. And you are when, like, I remember meeting my husband's parents for the first time, right? And we're just boyfriend, girlfriend. And they're like, well, what are you doing? I'm like, I'm going to college and I'm going to be this. And, like you lay out all these plans and you just feel like I got my life together, right? And everybody deserves that feeling. But also, I think we need to praise too the youth that's like, you know what? I don't know what I'm doing. Like, I'm figuring it out. And, um, I don't know what I want to be, but I know I like this, right? I might want to do this. And so just praising that process, being okay with that, right? As parents, we don't pressure that, we don't rush that. There's so many things in my life that I wish, oh, I would have just like maybe slowed down a little bit. There feels like there's such a rush, but there's really not. And to just go, you know what? It's okay that I don't have all these answers.
It's so true. I just want to wrap it up by saying that, as our team kind of has a probably an overly good ability to sabotage their self-confidence. Don't like that, but that's kind of how it is. Like we're good at sabotaging our own self-confidence. As parents, Help them by you showing confidence in them, confidence that they're
Mm.
going to figure it out, confidence that you trust them, confidence that they are enough and that they have gifts and talents and character traits that are amazing. And that, that you're confident that if things don't go quite as their plan or they would like, that they're going to figure it out. I think that's such a gift that we as parents can give our teens when they're lacking in self-confidence, that we show forth even more abundantly our confidence in them. Things are temporary and they're gonna figure it out and they're gonna get there and nothing has gone wrong. They're all good. Okay, we hope you join us on episode 52.
Thank you for listening to Let's Talk Teens with Cheree Murdock and Abbi Winslow. If you are looking for more tips to help your teenager, here's where you can find us. You can find Cheree Murdock on Instagram at Cheree Murdock Coaching or on her website, ChereeMurdock.com. You can find me, Abbi, on Instagram as Abbi Winslow or on my website, AbbiWinslow.com. Please rate and review our podcast and share with a fellow parent. Thanks for listening.